structure might
Yeah,
be easier
it
to
works
use.
now.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, our debate today is this House would forcibly relocate indigenous people where the presence prevents the extraction of valuable resources. We will have 7-minute speeches, and as a reminder, after the first minute, I will be slamming my hand on the table as this to show you that others can now give POIs. I'll do the same at the 6-minute mark, and after that, there will be no POIs at the 7-minute mark. I will be slamming my hand on the table repeatedly until you stop speaking. So yeah, first speaker, Prime Minister of the government, please take to the stage.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, imagine the following scenario. In a remote location in the middle of Amazon or whatever, somehow we've found oil, massive amount of oil. And that oil would bring billions of dollars into the economy, it would create thousands of jobs and revitalize a whole country that's struggling from an economic depression, for example. There's only one problem with this newfound riches of Amazon, for example. There are indigenous peoples living there, and they have lived there for ages and ages, as long as they've been a single culture, for example, and they have a clear attachment in that area, and they wouldn't really like to move out of there because it's their ancestral land. They have perhaps a lot of religious importance in that area, etc., etc. Basically, they don't want to move. They're the stopgap between riches and the rest of the population. So we in the government argue that we should do the rational thing and kick these people out from this area. Not only due to the economic possibilities that we would create for the whole country, but because it would ultimately be a lot better for the indigenous peoples as well. So, as a disclaimer, we want to clarify that we would do this, we would only do this if these resources and the economic boon they would give would benefit the whole country and the whole country's people. So we are not suggesting that if an American company wants to come to Finland and steal Finland's riches away, and without paying any taxes to Finland, we wouldn't kick out native Finnish people in that case. No, we would only do it if the resources would benefit the country itself, including the indigenous peoples. And when we mean kicking these people out, we would of course economically incentivize them. Like we would sponsor them moving, we would sponsor them apartments, we would give them life and prep them for a life outside of these areas to help them integrate in society better. And that's something that my partner will talk about in her speech in more detail. But we are not simply taking away all the material belongings and throwing it in the trash. No, we are making sure that they can continue their life in cities, for example, or within the majority instead of living in their old lands. So first of all, my argument is that this makes sense from a utilitarian point of view. So in the government's point of view, this whole debate should be calculated by utilitarian values. What's going to bring the most good into this world? Like if the amount of good that we are bringing into the world, in the country, outweighs the minor problems that the indigenous peoples might face by this change, then we should definitely do it, because indigenous peoples are people just like anyone else. A single indigenous life is equal to the life of a mainstream majority person, for example. So if we consider that these resources would create tens of thousands of jobs, for example, and would create plenty of economical opportunities that would benefit the whole country, then obviously it's going to create more value into this world. So ultimately, we believe that it's the opposition's duty in this debate to prove that somehow this minority, this tiny minority of indigenous people, somehow outweighs everyone in the country. And I feel that that's something that they are physically incapable of doing. That's not something you can easily do because, as I already mentioned, indigenous people are just like anyone else. And furthermore, these benefits would help these indigenous peoples as well. That's what my partner's going to be talking about. Secondly, this is a very like either or kind of situation. Like we can look at these resources. Can we make use of these resources if the indigenous people live there? Well, the answer is clearly no. You can't